Hi everyone, my name is Carmel and I'm a career consultant within Queen's working in the Careers, Employability and Skills team. You're all very welcome to this webinar today that will focus on how you can choose the right organisation for yourselves. Today we'll be joined with some of the PwC team. We have with us Kevin Coyle, Senior Associate working on Capital Project Services. We have Rachel Hunter, Manager in Digital Forensic Investigations, and we also have Simon Bull, who is Senior Manager working in Transactions. So we do thank them very much for joining us today, and they'll be taking you through the session. But before we start, just to let you know that the session will be recorded, so you don't need to take any notes. And if you have any questions for our speakers, if you can just put them on the question and answer box on the right-hand side of your screen there, these will be addressed at the end of the session. And they are anonymous, so please don't be shy. No one else can see your questions. So write in there if you have any questions for the speakers. So I'll pass you over to the PwC team here to introduce themselves and take you through how you can choose the right organisation for starting and progressing within your career. And I will see you in a bit.
Hey everyone. So as previously said, I am Kevin Coyle. I am a Senior Associate within the Capital Project Service team here in PwC. I've worked for PwC for 2.5 years now, and in the previous life I worked for Babcock International as a authorising engineer. Studied at mechanical engineering at university in Strathclyde in Glasgow.
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel Hunter. I am a manager within the PwC Belfast Forensic Legal Technology team. I joined PwC 8.5 years ago as a graduate, and I graduated from Queen's in July 2013 with a degree in business IT. I guess throughout school and uni, I actually didn't really know what career path I wanted to follow, but at that point, the combination of business and tech worked for me. And as part of that degree, I was able to complete a placement year, which I completed then in Huddersfield in West Yorkshire. And this was a tech role based within a facilities department for a turbo engine manufacturer. Whilst I enjoyed it, I definitely knew very quickly that it wasn't my long-term career. I tried a summer placement with Aon. They're an insurance company based in Leeds, and there I worked within their health and insurance and pension teams. And again, very quickly, I knew that was not for me. Following that, I applied for the PwC Forensic Tech role, and I joined that team in October 2013 as a graduate. When I joined into the electronic discovery team, and I was working on large international projects supporting law firms with electronic reviews on fraud and bribery investigations. And the last 4 years of my career in PwC then have been focused on legal technology. And as part of that, I work alongside clients, mainly within the financial services industries, including investment banks, to help understand their legal requirements, and then with the ultimate aim of implementing a technical solution to meet those needs. So that could range from technology to assist with contract repapering, perhaps in response to a regulatory change such as Brexit or LIBOR, or could also be looking at transforming how the legal department work.
Sorry, Simon, we can't seem to hear you.
Sorry about that. Hi everybody. My name's Simon Bull. I'm a senior manager in the transaction services team here based in Belfast. I took a sort of quite long convoluted route to get to PwC. I studied actually politics and modern history at Manchester University. And towards the end of that degree course, really did not have a clue what I wanted to do. So A bit like yourselves today, I attended careers fairs and the milk round and things like that, and a number of careers jumped out at me. I applied for a training contract with an accountancy practice based in London, which at the time was called BDO Stoy Hayward. Joined them in 1998, trained in their audit team, and then when I qualified as a chartered accountant, I returned to Northern Ireland. I worked for two medium-sized local firms based here in Belfast. My initial role that I had was working in forensics and litigation support work. I did that for about 5 or 6 years, and then from basically one day in the office, somebody said, well, look, if you can do a forensic investigation into a commercial dispute, you can do a due diligence investigation into a transaction. Off the back of that, that transaction work started to blossom, and it was more than just doing due diligence. It was doing valuations, corporate finance advisory, independent banking reviews, business planning and things like that. And then in 2014, so 8 years ago, a role became available in PwC in Belfast, where they were looking to grow a transaction services team. I was recruited into that team. Then I think at that point we had maybe 6 or 7 people in the team. We grew that up, and I think the most we've had is around 60 in the team. I now specialize just in valuations, which is one part of transactions. Our recruitment process has been completely driven by school leaver and graduate recruitment. We don't bring in any experienced hires. That's just the way our team works. But that's the route that I've taken to get to PwC and where I am today.
Sorry, Simon, I don't know if you're still speaking there, but you're muted. Sorry. Okay, I've realised my intro was a little bit short, so apologies for that. I can address that now. So yeah, I'll give a little bit about how I got to be here, and then I'll talk about what's on the slide. So I studied mechanical engineering, as I said, at University of Strathclyde, and having got my degree, I was looking for jobs within the engineering industry. And so that's how I ended up working for Babcock, which is a large engineering services provider. I'm from Glasgow, and so I was looking for jobs around about that area, and so they have a fairly large site near Glasgow, so I was working there. I realised that it wasn't, sort of similar to Rachel, wasn't exactly what I wanted to do long term. I enjoyed parts of it, but I found some of the pace of work quite challenging. It was quite slow, and I was looking for a different opportunity, and I stumbled upon PwC have a team, the one that I'm part of, Capital Project Services, that has a more engineering focus. So we would look to support clients in project management and sort of large scale projects that they are needing help with, either gaining efficiencies in or running the project well, or different aspects of that. And they were looking for engineers because they specialize in engineering clients. So that seemed quite appealing to me. Seemed like a very appealing organisation to work for as well. And so I moved across and joined the team here in Belfast, which is where I'm now currently based. I found it great. It's exactly what I thought it would be in terms of it's much faster paced, it's much more intensive, it's much more growth focused as well for myself. There's a lot more opportunities for me to develop skills and try new things and develop my professional skill set. I've had the opportunity to learn different technologies, and I've also had the opportunity to teach myself how to code in JavaScript, and had a positive impact on a few of our engagements through that. So I found it to be quite a varied and interesting job. Cool. So what we're looking to do in the next couple of slides, I believe, is to just help you think about choosing the right organisation for you. So similar to what myself and Rachel talked about, it can sometimes be a bit of trial and error, and you sort of choose a job somewhere and then realise that it's not quite the field or the industry that you're wishing to work in. So we're going to try and help you talk through, or help you think through some of the things that you can have in your mind when approaching the selection process for deciding which companies to apply for. So we've got 3 things on the slide there that I'm going to talk through that we would view as the foundational parts of an organization that you would want to consider when looking at whether to apply for them. So they're values, diversity, and scale. So for looking at values, a company's values are the sort of backbone or the DNA of an organization. They should influence everything from business decisions to strategy to behaviors within the company. And they form together to create a purpose that a company would have. These values are the basis of how a company forms its culture, and they help a company stay unified. So if a large global firm or a large firm with lots of different parts, if they're all operating entirely separately, there's not really a cohesive or unifying factor to it, and it can become quite a stratified or broken up organization in terms of culture and in terms of business approach. So values really do underpin how a company functions day to day. The reason that's important for you is that I imagine you all have values or things that are important to you, things that help drive your decision making, or are just key things that you feel strongly about and that are important to you. And it's key to align these to the company that you want to work for, because you'll get a lot more satisfaction out of your job and you'll enjoy your job more if it's working towards values that you share. So it's something that's key to research. If you're looking to apply for a company, most companies have somewhere on their homepage where you can access what their values are. And it's always worth having a read through to see if they line up with what you yourself would view as your values. Just for an example, PwC have these. So we have 5 core values that we look to live out each day within the organization. So they are act with integrity is the first one, which would be doing the right thing and speaking up when you feel something's wrong, even if it's challenging or difficult. The second one would be making a difference. So we're always looking to have positive impacts for both our clients and sort of wider society in the projects and engagements that we do. Care is the third. So we're always looking to look out for each other. We always want to make sure we're all doing okay. We want to have a viewpoint that isn't just entirely commercially focused. We want to look after our people as well. Fourth one is work together. So we're always looking to collaborate, encourage diverse perspectives and different thinking, and engage each other. And we'll find that we actually work a lot better, and we have a lot more of that positive impact, and it feeds into that care as well. And the last one is reimagine the possible. So we're always looking to encourage our workforce to innovate and be open-minded and think about solutions differently or problems differently to help get the best possible outcome. And all those sort of sum up into our purpose, which is to build trust in society and solve important problems. So yeah, values is always something that's useful and worth researching and looking at. Second one on the slide there is diversity. So for a lot of us, that's something that we do hold as important and may actually be one of your values. And as we're all probably aware, that there's lots of advantages and disadvantages that people experience in the world today. There is a huge amount of benefits to being a diverse organization. So the research would indicate that if you have a diverse workforce, you see improved commercials. You will attract the best possible talent because you are open to all people joining your workforce. You have increased creativity within your teams, and you have a higher employee engagement within your work and within your organization. If people feel welcome and supported and looked out for, then they're going to have higher buy-in. And that all feeds into a much better corporate culture. And for you yourself, that means there'll be a better workplace. It'll be more fun. It'll be more engaging. You'll have stronger relationships with people. And there's lots of benefits for yourself personally if a company has a good approach to diversity. So it's always something that's worth researching. So for example, at PwC, we have recruitment processes that are set up to try and remove as much unconscious bias as possible within that recruitment process. We have reports that we publish annually on our diversity statistics and on our pay across the gender pay report. We would publish that each year. And we also run different programs as well to encourage a more diverse application into our graduate schemes and workforce. So, for example, there's the Women in Business placement scheme that you can join PwC for 3 days and while you're at university and get a shadowing experience. And that can help you to decide if you're wanting to apply for the company and in that department or not. So it's always worth looking at the statistics and doing some research on the company to see what their approach to this is, and also seeing if they have avenues to help engage a more diverse workforce. And the last one there is scale. So my view on that is what does a company do and where? So there's lots of different types of companies. Some are smaller and have a more narrow focus. They specialize in one thing. And some are larger and specialize in multiple areas and are maybe across multiple countries. And it's always worth getting into more detail around what their scale is, because you'll have interests and you have your degrees as well and specialisms, and you'll want to align those with what a company actually does. You'll be able to contribute more, you'll get more job satisfaction again, because the company, what it does aligns with your skill set and interests. But equally, if a company has wider opportunities or a more diverse portfolio of work, then there's opportunities for you to learn new things and engage in different work areas that you maybe haven't or wouldn't engage with in a different organization. And if the company's open to encouraging things like placements in different departments or abroad secondments, that can be something that's quite interesting for yourself and will help you enjoy your career and enjoy your job more. So again, for example, in PwC, I mean, we're quite a global firm. We're pretty massive. We're across 157 different countries. And we regularly have people complete secondments into different parts of the firm in different countries. So I know quite a few people that have done secondments from the Belfast office in places like North America, Australia, the Middle East, lots of different opportunities there. And it's also worth looking at scale because companies may do things that you don't expect. So, for example, I wouldn't have considered PwC as an option for myself coming out of university with an engineering degree, an engineering focus, but happened upon this role in this team, and it turns out we have quite a large presence within the engineering projects world. And so it's not something I would have previously considered. I would have thought of PwC as mostly an audit and accountancy firm, but we actually do quite a lot of management consulting, work in engineering, work in tech as well. We've got a lot of tech specialist teams that help build solutions for clients to solve issues or problems they're having. It's always worth being aware of what a company does to make sure it aligns with what your interests are. So I'm going to hand you over to Rachel now, I believe, who's going to take you through the next slide.
Thanks, Kevin. I am now going to cover the importance of considering flexibility, culture, and environment when you're looking at choosing the right organisation for you. Personally, these three factors, I have found certainly over my career at PwC that these three factors can all have an impact on each other, and I have definitely seen each of them change over my time at PwC as well. So I'll start by looking at, I guess, culture and the working environment first. And these may not be factors that you initially think about, and also they can be very difficult to understand if you've not had any previous interaction with either that organisation or other people that work at that organisation before. But I guess they are very important, I think, when you're looking to find the right place for you. In the market, I guess there can be a lot of perception around how certain firms operate within certain industries. I would encourage you to try to be open-minded around that. Certainly, if there are other factors that are drawing you to a firm, then I would encourage you, I guess, to explore other routes that you might be able to find out a bit more. So maybe try and talk into somebody else who works at that firm, or maybe trying to attend some events where you might get talking to other people that know a bit more about it. And that would really just help understand from your perspective, is that going to work for you? And I guess the culture and environment, it's not something that you're going to know everything about before you join a firm, and may not be it's definitely not going to be the only factor that will make your decision. And I guess you will learn more about that as you join the firm as well. Looking at flexibility, Then I guess flexibility and work-life balance might be words that you've heard quite a lot. And again, this is something that I have seen that's changed significantly over my time at PwC. I think one important thing to consider here is that flexibility and that word balance means something very different for each of us. And that can also change over time. So it is really worth, I think, in the first instance, taking the time to understand what that means for you. What are you looking for in terms of flexibility and balance? So for example, a flexible start time might work for me at this point in time, but you may actually prefer a more consistent working pattern. And both of those options work. And at PwC, I guess, they allow us to be in control of that. So you may have seen a bit about this in the media and what's referred to as the PwC deal. And I just wanted to talk you through what that means for us as employees. So a while back, the firm asked us to ask how we see the future of work. And I guess what came out of that is PwC giving us the empowerment to make the decision around the best working practices for us as individuals, whilst, of course, maintaining the delivery of our day-to-day client services. So what does that actually mean in real terms? So I guess part of that means that there's an expectation that most of us will be working from an office location between 40 and 60% of our working weeks. So for me, at this current time, as a full-time worker across 5 days a week, this means that I would be working in an office between 2 to 3 days. Of course, that is dependent on any local restrictions, but it's very much something that I am looking forward to implementing. And I guess there are other elements to flexibility as well as working patterns. I guess you should also look at the required working location or locations that may apply to the role. You'll see on the screen a few pictures, and these are from our new PwC office based in Belfast City Centre. So we moved into this new office in July 2020, and it is a really high spec office, in what personally I find to be a very convenient location. Actually, it's pretty close and close to commuting links. There's also a lot of food and drink options when you're in there, including there's 2 on-site restaurants, but obviously you're right in the city centre. And I guess it also works very well for any social interactions that you might be organising. In addition to the day-to-day working environment as well, there is a dedicated wellbeing space in our new building. And this is a space that all employees can use at any time to step away from the day-to-day stress. So PwC has recognised, I guess, the importance of wellbeing and given their employees that option. Within this space, there have been a number of exercise classes organised, including yoga and HIIT. And also there are other services offered on site, such as counselling, physio, and even massages. I mean, I have been able to take advantage of a number of these services on site, and to be honest, all of them have made a very positive impact on my day-to-day working life. Simon, over to you.
Thanks, Rachel. So I'm going to cover off 3 more areas. So innovation, development, and opportunities. Starting with innovation. Innovation and technology is something that really has changed the landscape for a lot of employers and a lot of businesses over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, PwC included. If I think back to when I first started in accountancy nearly 25 years ago, if you wanted to write a report, you used Microsoft Word. If you were wanting to do some analysis, you used Microsoft Excel. And if you wanted to write a presentation, you used Microsoft PowerPoint. That pretty much remained unchanged for almost 20 years. In the last 5 years, that has completely changed. And those products that I mentioned I've barely used over the last number of years. And it's meant that not only are we using new tools, new software, but what we create for clients is changing fundamentally. The insight that we can provide to clients or in creating our own deliverables is changing fundamentally. And also how we are organized as a business is re-examined and is changing because of the technological challenges and opportunities that we're facing. To give an example, or two examples of what PwC has done, we created what was called a digital accelerator program 2.5 years ago, of which I was lucky enough to get selected to take part in. And that was very much looking at driving technological innovation and upskilling through the entire firm and not just through specialist teams. And people from all across PwC have been involved in that program. And it's not just about giving you the essential technical skills that you need to be involved in those changes, but also the soft skills that you need. And certainly from my perspective, it's not just about those particular tools. It's about encouraging people to use those tools, encourage people to create things for clients that are driven by the insights that those tools provide us. And another example is within the deal space that I work in, which covers several different business units. Each business unit, so there was corporate finance, forensics, deals, business recovery, which is similar to insolvency. Each one of those teams had their own specialist analytics teams. And we recognized that really wasn't fit for purpose because a lot of what they were doing was overlapping. A lot of what they were creating involved a lot of upfront investment in terms of time. So what they've done is they've created a deals analytics team that now covers that entire breadth of different services. So what previously people were doing where they were just working on transactions, they can now get work in forensics and in corporate finance and in other areas of the deals business. And it gives us huge amounts of additional scale in terms of what we can provide clients in that regard. And one of the things that we're also getting to leverage through doing that is a lot of what we now create for clients has huge application potential, not just for the particular client that we're working for, but with other clients, with other stakeholders and other partners. So we're getting to the point where we're actually creating products and software ourselves that have a large range of applications. So that's innovation, and I think it's really fundamental that when you are looking at different opportunities, different employers, you look at the innovation challenges that they have and how they're tackling them, and the support that they provide employees in terms of not just training but coaching and mentoring as well, which leads on to the next thing that I'm going to cover off, which is development, but also covers training and development. So I think Kevin mentioned about PwC having this reputation as an accounting and tax practice, and we still obviously do an awful lot of that, and we do provide training and pathways for people in those professional exams. So so obviously chartered accounting is the main one, but there are also other financial qualifications that we support people through. We also invest an awful lot in internal training. And again, from time to time, we will partner up with third-party providers to make sure that our people are getting the best training possible. And we will mix that across different platforms. Some of it will be class-based, but a lot of it as well will be webinars or self-managed learning that you can do in your quieter moments or in your own time. And probably one of the key fundamental ways in which we develop people is through on-the-job training or on-the-job coaching. And again, when you are talking to employers, one of the things you'll want to talk about is, get a handle on, is what support and what coaching is provided on the job, and how is that structured, and how is it done in a way that will maximize your development without making you feel that you're being overstretched or exposed in any way. And again, that's something that we focus on very, very, very clearly at PwC. We have a very well laid out approach to feedback and review, and in terms of coaching, and also in terms of recognition and reward of people's progress within PwC. And then going on to opportunities, I think obviously training, development, innovation would fall under opportunities as well. But also there's two other things to focus on when it comes to opportunities. And one I suppose you could talk about is experience-based opportunities. So that can be anything from going on temporary secondments, either to other parts of the firm within PwC, or even we do an awful lot of client secondments, whereby people, as it sounds, people go out and work with clients. And that can build up a tremendous amount of experience, as well as networks, your external networks, and give you an insight that you're just not going to get being on this side of the fence, as it were. There's also the opportunities to work on high-profile engagements, and you'll have seen, obviously, from the press, some of the sort of key clients that PwC have, and some of the key projects that we've worked on. And another thing is overseas travel and opportunities. So again, PwC do give you the opportunity to work overseas in other PwC offices. And I know we have a lot of people from different parts of the PwC worldwide network who are at the moment on secondment in London. A lot of the training that we do, particularly in Dales, is European wide. So you get the mix of people coming from different parts of the PwC network in Europe. But also you get the opportunity to travel as well. So, for example, two of the associates in my team got the opportunity to work in Dubai for 3 months of the year, every year for 3 years. So those are what I would say experience-based opportunities. But the other opportunity is around your personal development and your personal growth. And again, that is something that you should focus on and look into. I think you want to see, does a firm or does an employer have a culture where people are properly nourished and encouraged to grow, to challenge themselves. And it's really important that you are constantly challenged, but in a healthy, constructive and supportive way, that you are given the opportunity to take something and pretty much grow it from the ground up. But also you've got people around you, both in a supporting capacity and in a leading capacity, who will drive that opportunity for you, and also provide a safety net for you, so that you get the most out of that. So that's really those 3 topics. And then, Rachel, if you can move on to the final slide. Just want to touch on the PwC Employability Hub, which is something you can simply get the QR codes there, but you can simply get onto by Googling PwC Employability Hub. So that doesn't just provide information on PwC careers or graduate opportunities. It really does provide an awful lot of insight and intelligence for students around the things that they need to know, the skills that they need to develop when it comes to looking for graduate roles. Within that, you will also find information on our opportunities, not only at graduate level, but work-based summer placements, or in some cases, I think some of the placements are year long, and our diversity programs. So there's Black talent in business, women in business, and women in tech. That they can all be found on there, and I think as well. So a lot of what's on there is about the new challenges that people face when it comes to finding graduate roles. So there is things about being interviewed by avatars, about doing online assessments, but a lot of it still comes back to the advice that I was given a long time ago when it came to looking at opportunities at graduate level. Do your research around the firm that you're interested in. Look at the from the recording today, the topics that we've highlighted, and when you're going for a specific role, do a bit of research of what is the hot topics in relation to that area, and you will find on the PwC website, not just in the recruitment section, but in all parts of the website, thought pieces that will talk about a particular hot topic of the day or a challenge that the firm or the wider world is facing, that would be useful to talk about or to be aware of when talking to employers. And the key thing as well is, a bit like in advance of today for Kevin and Rachel and myself, is to do a bit of rehearsing, have an awareness of what you're going to say, the story that you're going to tell, and the things that you are want to bring out and highlight. Carmel, that's really it from the three of us.
That's great. Kevin, Simon and Rachel, thank you so much. Lots of great information there about factors that students should consider when they're researching their employer. And I suppose the importance of being open-minded. And I suppose it's important to remember, I suppose, Simon, as you pointed out, although people are graduating and they have some experience and maybe done internships and things like that, looking at an employer that will continue to support the student in their professional development, whether that's through coaching or mentoring or internal programs. So for me, that's a really important factor to take into consideration when you are looking at organizations, that they are supportive and will help you with your professional development. But look, thank you very much. We're just going to go to questions here, so bear with me to see if anyone has any questions for you. Okay, so we've got one in here just asking about and I think, Rachel, you might have touched on this actually, but asking about what is the best ways of researching employers and organizations to make sure they're the best fit for an individual.
Yeah, I can add to what I covered earlier. I know I'd covered around, maybe speaking to some other people who already work there, or attending events, careers events like this can be good as well. Personally for me, reading through an organization's website isn't always the best for me. I think it's about trying to get speaking to the people behind the organization to find out what's actually happening day to day, and not just reading, paragraphs of text on a web page somewhere. Kevin, Simon, anything to add?
I don't think so. I think, as Rachel says, if there's someone you know within that firm or within that organization, that's fundamental in getting a bit of insight into how they work.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the best way that you can actually engage in conversation with someone that already works there. If you don't know anybody, maybe reach out to someone on LinkedIn to get a their perspective on working for an organization. And also, I suppose doing a work placement or an internship, if that's available with that company, is also a very good way of knowing if it's right for you. Now we do have another question. Do you recruit students from all disciplines? And is there information on the portal and the website for students?
Well, we certainly have a quite a broad range of disciplines working within PwC. We'll begin by saying that. So, I said my background is in accountancy. Kevin, I think, has an engineering background. We've lawyers, quantity surveyors, and other disciplines as well within PwC. But in terms of recruiting from a breadth of degree subjects, again, it's definitely the case that we'll consider any degree when people come to apply. And just again, looking at even within my team, my degree was in politics and history. There's other guys or other people within my team who, I think 2 of them did film studies at Queen's. Another one did theoretical physics. There is quite a broad range of people within PwC. Yeah. It's more to do with the experience that you have and the aptitude and the qualities that you bring, rather than
a lot of those transferable skills,
yeah.
Simon, I suppose, are more important. And is there information on entry requirements and things like that on your on your portal?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's quite interesting that a lot of you have come from different degree pathways actually. But I think that's all our questions in there, folks. So look, I just want to take this opportunity to thank all 3 of you again. We appreciate that you're obviously very busy people, and thank you so much for joining us. And also thank you to the students who have joined us this afternoon. Before you go, there's a feedback form there in the chat, and we always appreciate our feedback on sessions. So if you can complete that for us, you'll be entered into a draw for a £25 retail voucher. And of course, just a bit of information as well before we finish up here. There are still some sessions that you can avail of on this Prepare to Succeed week for Careers Festival. And of course, we have our flagship event then, the recruitment fair, which PwC will be attending as well, next Wednesday the 9th from 2 p.m. to 6. So if you already haven't, please get registered for that. The lobby's now open, so you can go in and have a look at, there's over 100 different employers with placement opportunities, internships, and graduate roles as well. So I'd advise you to get registered for that. And I think with all that being said, we'll say thank you again, Kevin, Simon, and Rachel. We'll leave it there. Thank you.